Art is not mere entertainment. Alongside philosophy and religion, it is humanity's chief source of consolation. It is what we should turn to in our very worst moments. Here are 7 of the most calming works of art ever produced. We are very poor at retaining perspective, but art can help us by carrying us out of present circumstances and reframing events against a more imposing or vast backdrop. This is the move being made by the Japanese photographer Hiroshi Sugimoto through his gigantic empty photographs of the Atlantic Ocean in a variety of moods. What is most notable in these sublime scenes is that humanity is nowhere in the frame. We're afforded a glimpse of what the planet looked like before the first creatures emerged from the seas. Viewed against such an immemorial scene, the precise discontents of our times matter ever so slightly less. We can regain composure not by being made to feel more important, but by being reminded of the minuscule and momentary nature of every one and everything. In Ansel Adams's photograph, a row of aspens have been surprised by the photographer's light and stand out as strands of silver against the blackness of night. The mood is sombre but elegant. There is a consoling message within the art that can appease our raw grief and anxiety about our mortality and the fleetingness of time. The image invites us to see ourselves as part of the mesmerizing spectacle of nature. Nature's rules apply to us as much as they do to the trees of the forest. It's not personal. Leaves always wither and fall. Autumn necessarily follows from spring and summer. The photograph is a reframing device. It invites us to think of our own deaths as having a natural order that has nothing to do with individual justice. The photograph tries to take the personal sting out of what is happening to us. In the 17th century, the Dutch developed a tradition of painting that depicted ships in violent storms. These works, which hung in private homes and in municipal buildings around the Dutch Republic, had an explicitly therapeutic purpose to them. They were delivering a moral to their viewers who lived in a nation critically dependent on maritime trade. A message about confidence in seafaring and life more broadly. The sight of a tall sailing ship being tossed to a 20-degree angle in a rough sea looks to an inexperienced person like a catastrophe. But there are many situations that look and feel much more dangerous than they really are, especially when the crew is prepared and the ship internally sound. Backhuizen's warships in a heavy storm looks chaotic in the extreme. How could the people in this picture possibly survive? But the ships were well designed for just such situations. Their hulls had been minutely adapted through long experience to withstand the tempests of the northern oceans. Backhuizen wanted us to feel proud of humanity's resilience in the face of apparently dreadful challenges. His painting enthuses us with the message that we can all cope far better than we think. What appears immensely threatening may be highly survivable. The highest-selling postcard of art in France is Poppies by Claude Monet. Sophisticated people could be tempted to scorn. They might be afraid that such enthusiasm might be evidence of a failure to acknowledge the awful dimensions of the world. But there is another way to interpret a taste for pretty things, that it doesn't arise from an unfamiliarity with suffering, but from an all too close and pervasive involvement with it, from which we are impelled occasionally to seek relief if we're not to fall into despair. So, far from naivety, it is precisely the background of suffering that lends such beauty and dignity to this work of art. Claude Monet hasn't just made a pretty picture. He has bottled hope. Caspar David Friedrich shows us a striking, jagged rock formation, a spare stretch of coast, the bright horizon, faraway clouds, and a pale sky, all carefully designed to induce us into a mood. The picture does not refer directly to the stresses of our day-to-day lives, but its function is to give us access to a state of mind in which we're acutely conscious of the largeness of time and space. The work is sombre but not despairing, and in that condition of mind, we are left, as so often with works of art, better equipped to deal with the intense, intractable, and particular griefs that lie before us. The Japanese have an artistic tradition known as Kinsugi, wherein the broken pieces of an accidentally smashed pot are carefully picked up, reassembled, and then glued together with lacquer inflected with a luxuriant gold powder to create a beautiful ode to the art of repair. In Kinsugi, there's no attempt to disguise damage. The point is to render fault lines obvious and elegant. The precious veins of gold are there to emphasize that things falling apart isn't unexpected or panic-inducing. It creates an opportunity for us to mend, and mend redemptively. Fernando Pasoa is a beautifully dark, monumental work by Richard Serra, named after a Portuguese poet with a turn for lamentation. The work does not tell us to cheer up or point us in a brighter direction, what people often do when we tell them our troubles. The large-scale and monumental character of this intensely sombre sculpture implicitly declares the normality and universality of difficulty. It is confident that we will recognize the legitimate place of solemn emotions in an ordinary life. Rather than leaving us alone with our darker moods, the work proclaims them as central features of life. In its stark gravity, Richard Serra's Fernando Pasoa creates a dignified home for sorrow. Too many books have been written trying to explain what art might be for. In moments of great crisis, the answer becomes only too obvious. Art is there to help keep us alive.
Our book, What is Culture For?, helps us find compassion, hope and perspective in the arts.